back, guys. It is Tuesday, May 17th. Make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Let us know any thoughts or questions you have. Last podcast we closed out holding each other accountable to the morning routine.
Yeah,
Talk
it's
to me
been
about
good,
that.
dude. No, the morning routine's been good. Waking up at 7:30, then we decided to move it up to 6:30. I know my biggest habit that I wanted to work on was like going on my phone in the morning, and so it's been amazing. Just we get up in the morning, turn our alarm off, and we go right outside and start walking and get those UV rays on us, dude. And it's been amazing. You just feel like you just like get that inertia going, you know.
Yeah.
Things moving. Once they're moving, they can't be stopped unless. What does Newton say? Is it even Newton?
I know what you're talking about.
Inertia. Anyways, yeah, just get things rolling and the momentum gets going, and once the momentum's going, it's hard to like stop. You don't want to get back. Like you're gonna sit down and go on your phone for 2 hours. You're not gonna go back in your bed and scroll, or you're just gonna keep rolling. So it's been amazing for me. Thanks for keeping me accountable.
100%. Likewise. In what ways have you seen it directly benefit your morning as well as your day?
Well, first off,
dude,
I feel amazing. I feel like I have more energy. I feel more fulfilled. I don't feel like a piece of crap just laying in bed forever. But also just have more time. I mean, time is such a precious resource. Like, you have to spend it. Like, there's no saving time, you know? You can't reserve it or anything like that. So, like, it just gives us an extra 2-3 hours every single day, which is priceless to me, you know.
Yeah, and it's not like because I feel like, you know, if you wanted to, they're very productive extra couple hours.
Yeah.
It's not like an extra couple hours after going in and out and just chilling watching Netflix or just scrolling through Instagram. You know, it's like vitalized. Like, let's talk about the video that we watched that inspired this, because that stuff is fascinating.
Yeah, let's do it. You're the one that found it. The algorithm fed you right.
Yeah, so basically...
It fed you a T-bone steak from Ruth Chris.
A Wagyu. This one's grass-fed. It was nice. But basically, you know, that video we watched was talking about how it was a neuroscientist who was talking about getting your morning right is extremely crucial, and is going to carry that momentum for the rest of the day, into the rest of the week, and whatnot. But he was saying about getting up early and getting outside, not just for exercise, right? But if you want to, cool. But just getting outside and having forward movement, just walking, running, biking, whatever it is, and like the light that's going to be coming into your eyes. He called it optic flow, and so I love that term now. But it just wakes your brain up. It starts, you know, getting hormones and chemicals produced, and totally just vitalizes your brain for the rest of the day. Have you noticed that? Do you feel?
No, it's been amazing. We've done it for a week now. And I'd encourage everyone to try it out. Just right when you wake up, just don't do anything. Don't go on your phone. Don't even bring your phone with you. Just walk outside and go on like a 10-minute walk. And it's amazing. It's been really good.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I feel like, tell me if you feel the same, but I just feel like sharp. You know? Like, I feel like way more clear, way more... Do you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. But I think what you were saying earlier about the mornings, like it's productive 2 hours. It's not just 2 more hours of dinking around scrolling. It's like the brain is just a lot more present, I feel like, and it's just, I think when you're sleeping, I read something somewhere a while back that your brain, like while you're sleeping, it just kind of sorts things out. And so when you wake up, everything's kind of sorted out, and you're not all over the place. It's just easier to focus and easier to. I don't even know what it is. It's been good, and I want to keep doing it.
Yeah, it's been.
I actually read something interesting today. So, I've been pretty bad at reading just because like I made the excuse if I didn't have enough time because I just waste it a lot. But I've been reading more the past week, and actually today there was an interesting quote in Atomic Habits. It says, every habit that you have serves you in some way, even if it's like a bad habit, you know. And he gave the example of smoking. He's like, people who smoke, they do it because it relieves stress, and like obviously smoking's not gonna serve you, but it does serve you in that way because it's gonna relieve your stress. And so it kind of just like made me start to think. I haven't done like the full exercise, but I want to sit down and figure out each of my habits and like in what way does it serve me, and if it serves me in a negative way, like cut that out, you know.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So even if it is serving you in a way that's relieving your stress, like smoking does, for example, I think that's a really interesting exercise because you would be able to identify maybe what are some more productive habits to relieve stress.
Yeah.
You know, and like kind of we talked about last time, but start replacing.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, it's been amazing.
Feels good, huh?
Yeah.
And have you heard of circadian rhythm?
It's like the sleep thing, right?
Yeah, it's like your biological clock that wakes you up. Like once you've been in a sleep schedule for like 10 days or something like that, or 3 weeks, something like that, then your body starts waking you up. Like you don't need an alarm clock, and as long as it's been consistent at the same time.
You mentioned that yesterday, right? Like you like woke up like way before our alarm even went off,
Yeah.
just because that's what
Just getting
it's training to be. So, no, that's cool. It should get easier and easier.
Yeah, I think so.
That's the hope.
Yeah, and it totally translates into the rest of the day.
Mhm.
Because like you have that productive few hours in the morning, you have like some, solitude time where you're just you studying thoughts, sorting yourself out. You go into the day like way more prepared, way more vitalized, way more. It's not just you woke up late, you scrambled for some breakfast, and you got out the door. It's like no, you're prepared. You're like intentional. You know what you're doing. You know why you're doing it.
Yeah, you're taking on life instead of life taking on you.
Yeah,
it's just like it's just.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's just get the ball rolling, and it's just there's like two different attitudes. It could be like passive, like letting things come to you, or it could be like. I don't know what it would be like. I mean, I guess it would kind of be like aggressive, like you're going to it. And no matter what it is, I think if you're going towards it, then it's just gonna bring more fulfillment and stuff like that.
It's like the same principle as acting instead of being acted upon.
Yeah.
Or acting throughout the day instead of being acted upon by the day. Like
Yeah.
Being late to everything, oversleeping, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's an interesting principle. It's definitely a true principle. So, what have you since you've been reading and stuff like that? Was there any insights that you've had like the past week that have been thought provoking or interesting, whether it's the scriptures or in your books or whatever?
That's a great question. Definitely, and I'm reading the book that you lent me, the Humor That Works.
Yeah.
That's a really good book, and I really like its perspective on that humor is essential in the workplace, in a professional setting, whether that's work or school or religion or whatever. And it's just interesting to see, and I'm only getting started in the book, so I'm excited to see what comes of it. But I love that he thinks it's critical. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. People take life too serious. What? I don't remember. I haven't read it for a few months. What? Why does he say it's like so critical?
I think that's going to be explained more in the book. I think he's really starting to set the preface of like saying that it is and like kind of hooking you, and then I think he's going to jump into that. But I loved what he told his editor. Do you remember that? His editor said something like, "Why would I publish this? Like, it's about humor.
Yeah.
Everybody understands it." And he was like, "Yeah, and I think that it needs to get out there, and people need to understand that it's critical." He's like, "Well, I don't agree with you." He's like, "Then that's exactly why you should publish it." And then got him to publish it.
Yeah, that's good, dude. It's now you say that, you kind of remember that a little bit. I think so many times people are afraid to share things that they don't agree with 100%. A lot of they get like in their own little echo chamber. They don't want to hear anything they don't agree with. They don't want to, you know what I'm saying? And I think there's a lot of value. I mean, the value in it is finding a different perspective, and it helps you understand, have empathy, and helps you to just like seeing things from someone else's perspective there's a lot of value in that, but I don't think the world places a lot of value in that. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like...
Can't articulate my thoughts right now, dude.
No, I see what you're saying. And I feel like that's especially worse in our generation and in younger. People only want to hear what they agree with.
Yeah.
On every side of everything, politically, religiously, whatever. And if not, then they're upset. You know, they get triggered, trigger warnings, safe places, all that. You know.
Yeah.
Which is just not a reality.
No.
You're not going to be able to build a trigger-free zone everywhere you go. You're going to have people that you disagree with. Matter of fact, you're going to disagree with everyone on something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you have to be able to cope with that and figure that out. You can't just shut down because someone doesn't believe everything that you say and stuff like that.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's kind of interesting.
I feel like it's enabling. It's a crutch. And when people, you have to have a healthy amount of exposure to that kind of stuff in order to build like a resilience and to build like a sense of your own identity.
Yeah.
You know? You have to. And if not, and if you're crutched, then you're going to stay crutched. Like if you get to this point where like, I can't talk about this, like, and then and people like start shutting you down, like, oh, that's so rude, that's true, whatever, then you're going to be dependent on that in everything for the rest of your life, instead of being able to, you know, that's an interesting perspective. I think about it this way: what made you think this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of like just getting to a point where you need a Xanax. You know what I mean?
Just getting so worked up over something.
So worked up.
You know, like
it doesn't even matter.
No.
It's typically about things that you have no control over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's interesting, and I think that's one thing that I really appreciate about you is you're just so good at being curious as to why someone believes something or sees something, and no judgment, nothing like that. It's just like, okay, that's cool that you think that way. You ask a few more questions, and even if you disagree, it's not like you're judging them or you hate them because of it. It's been good to be around. So.
And dude, I feel like that's a really good skill to look for in people, and I feel the same way about you. I feel like we've been able to have really good conversations with a lot of different people,
Mm-hmm.
and not every one of them we've agreed with, but we can still look at them like people.
Yeah.
You know. And that's actually interesting that you say that, because there's always an experience or an explanation why somebody behaves or believes something, behaves a certain way or believes a certain way. Now that doesn't always justify the behavior or the belief, but it explains it. And if you can get to the root of it, then you can start understanding the person more. And then in all reality, if you had been through the same things that they had been through or experienced the same things that they did, you'd probably be doing or believing the same things.
Dude, I'm so glad you said that, because you told me that. We were just driving down like in the car like 3 or 4 days ago, and you said that. Say that again about things not. It doesn't justify it, but it explains it. What was that quote?
Like about, if you understand, if you can get to, instead of just, you know, getting aggressive and no, I think it's this way, I think it's, and start asking questions, you're going to get to the root of why.
Mm-hmm.
Like what experiences in your life led you to believe this or act this way or think that this was okay, you know, and then you can start building grounds to build bridges. And although it doesn't justify the behavior, it explains it. And then once you have that, then you can start building.
That's such an interesting framework, because when you said that a few days ago, it like blew my mind. I'm like, that's so good. I think that people need to understand that. I was actually thinking that this morning. Like, I hope. I think this was before we talked about doing a podcast. Like, I hope eventually Jonas says that on one of the podcasts, because I think it's so important for people to understand. Not that a lot of people listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
But I think if that can get out there and people can really dig deep into that, and they can get a lot of value from it. So.
And it's so like. How do you expect to build bridges with all, like, because you look at all the different cultures and all the different communities and all the different races and religions that there are. There have been so many clashes between each and every single one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of them, they're probably all feeling justified in what they're doing. You know? So if you get to the bottom of why, then you can start building bridges and start mending relationships and start building, you know, stronger communities.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think along with that, you were saying something about, what were you saying? I can't even remember, dude.
Was it when we were talking about homeless people?
Maybe.
Was that it?
Post Malone? No, dude, I can't remember. Anyways, not a big deal, but
I'm glad you feel the same way,
Yeah.
because so many people are, hard-headed and stuck in their ways, and they won't ever, they can't, their ego cannot afford to ask a compromising question. Like, what makes you believe that instead of, no, this is how it is.
You get all defensive.
Yeah, and you start doing that thing where you whip it off. No.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. No,
It's like the signal of, I'm not even going there.
Yeah.
We're not going there. Nope.
Oh man, dude, I had an interesting insight
Let's hear it.
today. I was actually reading. So I just restarted the Good Book of Mormon, and I started at the very beginning with like the introduction and the testimony of the 3 witnesses, the 8 witnesses, and the Joseph Smith testimony. And it just like made me really reflect on like everything that they went through. They were persecuted, mobs attacked them, got tarred and feathered, like all these people got severely made fun of and mocked and beaten and whatever. Killed, yeah, for having those beliefs. Talk about bridges needing to be built. But it was just so. I've said it before, and it made me rethink of something I said. It's like lies are supposed to benefit you. Like if they were lying, wouldn't it be against human nature to keep lying to get such a bad like consequences? I don't know. I know for me personally, anytime I ever have lied, it's never been to get beaten or mocked or anything.
Yeah.
Like that, you know. But not even just about that in general, but just I think a good way to like read into someone, or read in, like if you're trying to get to know someone, you're trying to kind of feel them out, see if you can trust them, kind of see what their type of things that they're saying, and like a lot of like gurus, they'll never go when they're talking, and they'll be like, they'll never be completely transparent. It's like, this may not be for you. This is a lot of hard work. They may just kind of like build up all the good things, like, and that's like a red flag to me of like, okay, if it's too good to be true and there's no risk, there's no nothing, then that's gonna be something's gonna kind of push me away. But if you're kind of telling the truth and helping people understand what it's really gonna be like, no matter what it is, whether it's a job, this, that, and the other, then I don't know, that like draws me in a lot more than someone just trying to push their agenda, you know?
Yeah. That's interesting. That's true. If you're lying either to get out of something bad or lying to get something good.
Yeah.
You're not lying to be beaten in the streets.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I don't know.
That's interesting.
What I wrote down today.
Good reads, huh?
Good reads. That's something that I think is so funny that we say. We might use it a lot in the podcast, so maybe we should explain to anyone listening. Like, lately we've just been saying like an adjective and then a noun. So if it's like someone says like a funny joke or something, you say good jokes. Or you eat some good food, you say good eats.
Good
Just like
eats.
random stuff like that.
And it's always plural.
It's always plural.
Yeah.
I don't know why we think it's so funny. But
You know what else, though, like talking about, going back a little bit to the to what we were just talking about, this, I feel like you will agree with this. I hope you'll agree with it. But if not, feel free to and tell me. So basically, and you learn this a lot. Like I think it was, I forgot what book it was, but the way that people treat you has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the reflection of where they're at, like with themselves.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like if in psychology we learned that here's an example, a really good example. You can have the best of your life. You could have just won the lottery, and you just sparked out 10 mil. So you're chilling, and you're happy. You're mad happy. You're on cloud 9. You've never had this much euphoria in your life. And somebody cuts you off in traffic. You don't care at all. You do not care. You got 10 mil in the bank. You know what I'm saying? So it's just whatever.
Sure.
It's a sure. So you don't even care.
Yeah.
Right? Or somebody could have just gotten the news that, they had a family member die, and, they're getting evicted soon, and all these things are stacking up. So you cut that person in traffic, you're going to get a little bit more spice,
You're going to get some birds flying your way.
You're going to get some birds flying your way. You're going to get all the words and the hand gestures and the motions. You're going to get
the horns.
The horns. So that was you still did the same thing of cutting that person off, but their reaction has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the relationship with themselves.
That's so true. I mean, I've heard the concept before of like how people treat you is how they feel about themselves, but I've never like that analogy is so interesting. Like, it's such a good way to put it because it's so applicable. Like if I just won the lottery, I don't think anyone. I don't think you can. I mean, I don't get mad in general typically, but you're sure as heck not gonna get mad about someone cutting me off.
Yeah.
Even if I get in a wreck, I got a
Sweet.
few grand. I can go buy a new car.
A few
I'll
grand.
pay for
What's
your
that?
car too.
I was
if
getting
it's
a new
in
car
fault.
anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like, thanks for getting this off my hands.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. It's
You know,
yeah.
and I feel like that's a really good principle to acknowledge and understand, and start to apply because it's hard to apply it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But like, taking things, the whole like premise in that psychology principle is that nothing is really good and nothing is really bad. At least as far as circumstances go. Obviously, with morals, that's different. But as far as circumstances go, it's all relative. It's not good or bad.
Perception is reality. In that sense.
Exactly. So you heard the saying, obviously, it is what it is,
Mhm.
right? So it's not good or it's not bad. It is what it is,
Yeah.
right? So getting cut off was fine for one person, but it was bad for another. It still is just getting cut off. What it is getting cut off. It's not good or bad.
Yeah.
You know, or like anything like that. Like, you know, you lose a job, that could be because you quit and you went to go work for a better job and get more money, or you got fired, right? Either way, what it is you stopped working at that place.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is. It wasn't good or
It
wasn't
is
bad.
what it is.
It is what it is. And if you can apply that, I love saying that because it kind of takes your own relativity out of it and just plants it as a circumstance.
That's
instead
true.
of-
Dude, it reminds me of the story of the Chinese farmer.
Tell
Remember
me.
that? Can you have your phone? Can you look it up real quick?
What's it called?
I'll read it. It's just called The Story of the Chinese Farmer. It's so interesting. It's the exact same concept of whatever comes at you. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. But how you respond to that is the good or the bad thing, you know?
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, what I was talking about earlier. You were talking about how sometimes you get in situations and it's not your fault. Like say, victims of abuse or whatever. It's not your fault that happens to you or that you go through something like that. But it is your responsibility to figure out how to cope with it, and how to move on from it. You know, that's what I was kind of getting at earlier. Remember when I had that little pause? I'm like, I can't remember what you were talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Remember, you want to expound upon that a little bit?
Yeah. Say that again.
How it's
Lost
like,
my train of thought.
just like
Yeah.
when things happen, it's not always your
Oh,
fault,
yeah,
no
yeah.
matter what it is,
Yeah.
but it is your responsibility to figure out a way to overcome that.
Yeah, because we all have. There's a lot of things in this life that happen that you would consider to be unfair or fair. It doesn't really matter because it is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. So, again, that's why importance to stay grounded in reality instead of try to sway towards your perception of it, because
Yeah.
we could all get caught up in that. But I mean, just like you were saying, whether it's you were a victim of abuse or kidnapping or heaven forbid anything worse, it's not, or even small things, even smaller things, smaller scale things, right, that still have an effect on you. It's not your fault that somebody acted that way towards you. It's not your fault, right? For like a child that's going through a very difficult situation, like with whatever, it's not the child's fault.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is now going to be the child's responsibility to find a healthy way to cope with that for the rest of their lives. And that's what's sad. That is what's scary. But understanding that helps provide some perspective, because a lot of people feel like it was their fault. Like, oh, I should have done this better. Oh, I should have. And that's just, again, those are side effects of abuse, manipulation, is where you
Mhm.
feel like you're the bad guy. It was your fault. One thing to understand though, for that kind of stuff, is that like it is not your fault. However, it is your responsibility.
Yeah.
Now, so it's gonna suck, it's gonna hurt, and it's gonna be brutal. But there's help, and there's people that you can talk to, and there's ways you can implement and be responsible, and you can respond accordingly. But that stuff, is a whole mess.
Yeah. No, I think that's well said. I think that's a clip. It's a bar right there.
Uh-oh.
Okay, but anyways, back to that. The is what it is
Read us.
principle.
Good
It's a little bit long, but it's so good. It's like one of my favorite stories ever. But it says, once upon a time there was a Chinese farmer whose horse ran away. That evening, all of his neighbors came around to commiserate. They said, "We are so sorry to hear your horse has run away. This is most unfortunate." The farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came running back, bringing 7 wild horses with it. And in the evening, everybody came back and said, "Oh, isn't that lucky? What a great turn of events. You now have 8 horses." The farmer again said, "Maybe." The following day, his son tried to break one of the horses, and while riding it, he was thrown and broke his leg. The neighbor then said, "Oh dear, that's too bad." And the farmer responded, "Maybe." The next day, the conscription officers came around to conscript people into the army, and they rejected his son because he had a broken leg. Again, all the neighbors came around and said, "Isn't that great?" Again, he said, "Maybe." And then the author goes on to kind of make a point. He says, "The whole process of nature is an integrated process of immense complexity, and it's really impossible to tell whether anything that happens in it is good or bad, because you never know what will be the consequence of the misfortune, or you never know what will be the consequence of good fortune." I don't know, I just love that, because it's just, at least in my experience, it's been so true. Like, something bad will happen, and then because you respond to it good, you grow so much more. Tony Robbins uses an example of his worst day ever he is where he is now because of his worst day ever.
Mm.
It made him want to change, and he responded really positively to those bad times, those misfortunes, and it's allowed him to get to where he is. And I just love the concept. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but all I can do is move forward and not make excuses. I think the story is really good too, because all the people rush. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, isn't that so great?" Like, that's just like a lot of humans do that,
Yeah.
But if we can stay even keeled, we'll get through it, or yeah, it was good. We'll keep going. I think that's just a good attitude to have.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of, dude, I love this concept, because if you have your happiness, your emotional stability set upon volatile things, then your happiness and emotional stability is going to be volatile.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like, if you set it into something constant, right, then it's always going to be flatline no matter what. Like, obviously you want to minimize you're still going to have ups and downs, but you want to minimize the downs, and you want to make the ups more consistent, maybe not as extreme.
Yeah.
So that you just kind of have like a decent, like a maybe kind of life,
Yeah. It's like the S&P 500 compared to Bitcoin, dude.
Yeah. No, but I love it. We should start saying that. Just maybe.
Maybe.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. But maybe. Might be.
Maybe, we'll see.
Could be, could not.
Yeah.
And that's such a good principle, because if your happiness is set on money, right? Because obviously money's important. It's a resource we can't live without. But if your happiness is set on it, then the second that money's gone, so is your happiness.
Yeah.
And the second the money's back, so is your happiness. That is dangerous. But if you're like this, money's gone, like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry." Maybe. You might strike a good business opportunity, or find a good partnership, or a good job, and the money's right back.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing, dude. It reminds me of Job.
Job's a beast. Yeah. He's
You
a
know
great
what I'm talking
example
about?
of that. Yeah.
Lost everything. He said, maybe.
No, his
family dies. He said, maybe.
God will provide. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think something I was thinking about the other day is, if you can't be single, or if you can't be happy single, you're not going to be happy in a relationship, and if you're not happy poor, you're not going to be happy broke or wealthy. Like, so many people put their identity in these things, and they find happiness when they're in a relationship, but they're miserable when they're not, or they're miserable when they're poor, whatever, and they think they're going to be happy, but it's all this inner self talking. I think it comes to identity. We were talking about that on Sunday.
Yeah.
President Nelson was talking about how important it is to identify with the right things that aren't going to be volatile. As you were saying, like with sports players, a lot of sports players, like professional athletes, they'll put their identity. Oh, I'm a football player, but when they get these injuries, when they retire, they get pulled away from their football, and that was where they identified where they got their fulfillment and happiness. So that was taken away. They don't have that, and a lot of times they turn to other things. The quote goes, when you identify with being a football player or this or with your job, you become a human doing rather than a human being. You know, that's what we're talking about. And I think it's so you have to identify with those greater things that aren't going to be taken away and given back. You know,
because that's some really good insight. Because I mean, just like the proverb of the Chinese farmer or Job or whatever, things can come and go, and they can come and go quick. You can gain quick and you can lose quick. And people that are super super rooted in that kind of stuff, their lives get destroyed. They win the lottery, they're broke the next year.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So there's something to be said about the power in having discipline, emotional discipline, where you can say, maybe, because it might hurt. You might be hurting and it might suck, but if you can still say maybe, then it's gonna keep you going instead of just staying in the dumps.
Yeah, and not just saying maybe when people ask, but like really like feeling maybe, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's when you can really get that like that state of just like if we can really understand it and like apply that, I think we can do a lot more.
Because there's always going to be a worse circumstance than you're in, and there's always going to be a better.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to, you could be in the rabbit hole the rest of your life, beating yourself up over the good or the bad or what you missed.
Yeah.
So if you just have, somebody had it worse today, and somebody had it better. On to the next,
Yeah. Kind of going back to what that point that I was trying to remember, but I couldn't remember it, and then I brought it back. It's like a lot of times, and I'm very blessed. I haven't gone through a lot of trauma or anything like that. A lot of times, people will use that as excuse their entire life, and they can't ever move past it, But then the people who do, they become like I think some of the more successful people are the ones who've been through the most, and they've overcome that. They haven't used those as excuses, but they've used them as like not stumbling blocks, but stepping stones, to get where they're at,
Very interesting.
Just if we just do the best we can to get rid of those and say, okay, that happened, but this is what I'm going to do now, and you do something about it. You don't let that hold you back forever.
Tell me if you feel the same, but I feel like, because so many people go through so many different things behind closed doors that you would never guess.
Yeah.
Like whatever it might be. All of those things, negative things that happen, those become catalysts. Now, that makes your life less stagnant, and that catalyst, you get to decide whether it's going to be a catalyst for destruction or a catalyst for growth.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if you just sit there and do nothing about it and use it as a crutch and excuse, which you can't, I don't judge anybody that does, because, heaven knows.
Right.
Heaven only knows what they're going through and how hard it is, and I'd probably be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But it can drive them into the dumps, and then, they've started some really bad habits, some really bad coping mechanisms like alcohol or drugs or whatever that might be, and then they've just and they've been acted upon by their trials.
Mm-hmm.
They're acted upon. They're trying to escape from them rather than grow from them. But if you use that same catalyst, like the analogy of the twins that had like an abusive household.
Father?
Yeah. Like one became an incredible businessman, one became a homeless man, because one couldn't get over it, couldn't come to terms with it, and no judgment to him because he's had some horrible happen to him, but the other one used it as a catalyst for growth. Because when you have that kind of stuff happen in your life, it requires a lot of inertia to overcome.
Mhm.
And that inertia you get to keep when you start healing from the bad. So you get to keep the good and heal from the bad. And then you can use that to just continue to propel you into life.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's incredible. Is that how that story goes? Is one was a homeless guy, one was a very successful business guy, and they were both asked like, how'd you become homeless? And the other guy gets asked like, how'd you become so wealthy? And both of their responses are, my dad's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Interesting stuff.
Kind of crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Something to be said about going back to all, like, have you heard of the book As a Man Thinketh? The small book?
Yeah, I've read it. It's so good.
So good.
It's so good.
Oh my gosh, it's chock full.
It's like what, 60 pages maybe?
60 pages of pure just gold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And one thing that I remember from it was, as a man thinketh, so is he, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the title of the book. But he explains by that, you don't directly control your outcome in your circumstances, but you indirectly do, because you control your thoughts. And thoughts turn into behaviors, behaviors turn into habits, and habits determine your circumstances and determine your destiny. So although you might not be able to decide your circumstances, you 100% have control over your destiny.
Yeah. That's powerful. Yeah,
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. I think we have a lot more control over things than we think we do. Like there's a lot of things that are not in our control.
Yeah.
But there's so many things that are, and it just starts with how we think.
I think you're right.
And it's awesome. Our minds are so powerful, or not powerful. It all depends how we look at it. But yeah, it's awesome. I love psychology. I love the brain. Like all that stuff is so fascinating.
So interesting.
Yeah. One thing that stuck. The only thing I really remember from that. I have a bad problem of like reading stuff, getting super into it, loving it, and then like I forget it because like you start reading something else and it's easy to forget. But usually there's one like overall thing from anything I read that I like can take away, and my takeaway from that book was he used this analogy of our mind being a garden, and like he's like we have to plant what we want in there, and and you have to weed out the things that you don't want, because things are gonna grow in there. But if you don't consciously weed them out, like when you have a real garden, you plant what you want, and then things that you don't want are going to grow, and they're going to take the nutrients from the good things. So you have to take those weeds out, or you're not going to get the desired result, you know. So it's kind of that whole concept of, I guess, being acted upon, like taking something on or letting something take you on. It just, I don't know, that whole concept is something I think we keep talking about and I keep thinking about, and I think if I can really apply that, then I think some good things will come from it. So,
dude, what a good analogy.
James Allen, was that his name? James Allen?
Is it? I can't remember.
Something like that. But yeah, he's a
what a great analogy. That's crazy.
Good analogies.
Good analogies. Like
good rights. Good books.
People don't really. I mean, we're all victim of it, or whatever. We all do it, where we don't really. Sometimes we're just chilling.
Yeah.
And we don't care what comes in or what we weed in or what we weed out, you know. But that stuff does grow, huh? And it takes the nutrients and the resources from the good.
Because energy is your number one resource. So it's like the resource of life is energy, and it takes energy to think about stuff and to this, that, and the other. But if you can really just weed that out and just feed your energy to the good things, the things that you really want to accomplish, that's when you'll be successful, you know.
How powerful is that?
More powerful than Thor's hammer, dude. I've never even seen Thor. I don't even know if it's powerful. I'm not a big movie guy, dude.
Yeah.
Not a big movie guy.
You're not missing much. Talking about weeding out what's not good, huh?
Well, I have plenty of things that I need to weed out, but
what's that weed killer called?
Roundup.
Roundup? We need to get some Roundup, dude. Should we stop at Home Depot or Lowe's?
I like Home Depot.
Home Depot?
Yeah.
It's so interesting though. Like we literally can create who our lives, our bodies, our minds. It's all a canvas of just pure opportunity, and we're just dropped here on this earth as just humans, and we get to literally. You know, some people start splashing on other people's canvases, and there's things that we got to do, but there's like, we really can create what we want.
Yeah.
Our own, like, we literally can create the people that we want to become.
It just starts right here, huh?
Isn't that crazy? It starts in your mind.
No matter where you start. I love that talk in General Conference about the slope intercept form. You remember that? He says so. He's like, you have like y equals mx plus b, right?
Yeah.
And there's the what is it? Is it x and y axis?
Mm-hmm.
So the slope is this, but where you start is
the y-axis.
I'm kind of butchering that.
I see what you're saying.
So it doesn't matter where you start on this; it matters your slope. So if you start in the worst circumstances, but your slope is like this, then that's good. But if you start here, say you're given everything, you come from a ton of money, you get the best education in the world, you have all this, that, and the other. What's your slope like? Is it trending downward? But you're still on the y. You're still higher on the y than the person who started here. But I think the slope is more important than where you start.
So what you're saying is the b is more important than the m.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember.
The rate of growth matters more than the starting point.
Yeah.
Just because if your rate of growth is negative and you're decaying, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
I agree 100%. I think because everybody has different starting points and different whatever and this and that and stuff like that. But the only thing that we each control is the rate of acceleration, right?
Exactly. Because no matter how low someone starts, no matter how high someone starts, I mean, time's gonna pass. You're gonna pass eventually, and whether it takes 1,000 years or whatever, you know. So, if you're trending downward, someone else is trending upward, then I'd rather be the upward, you know. What was that? What was brother?
Degrees of difficulty.
The degrees of difficulty. Yeah. Talk about that, and then let's wrap it up.
Basically, the same lines of people that were being judged for like a diving contest or something like that. Somebody was given more points because he had a lot less resources and did it on his own or something like that. And
he was trying to do a few backflips and stuff like that, and maybe made it a little bit bigger. What?
Wasn't he doing like crazier stuff but didn't have a good finish or something like that?
Yeah, like the splash was a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Which you don't want to splash in diving competitions. And so and then some kids and were just doing like little dives, but their feet were pointed and they were straight as an arrow, and they were going in, and so the splash was small. But the degree of difficulty, the kid with doing the tricks and the whatever ended up winning, and everyone was offended because his splashes were bigger. But he obviously tried a lot harder. And
the degree of difficulty to get a no splash while you're doing 4 backflips is a lot harder than doing a dive.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that translates directly to what you were just talking about, the slope intercept form. Can we talk about the Pythagorean theorem next?
There's no use for it. Freaking Pythagorean theorem. It's crazy. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. It's kind of been a chill episode. Just kind of been shooting the breeze a little bit, but I think there's a lot of important principles that we've talked about. The degrees of difficulty, the come what may and love it, the maybe. What did you call it? What'd you call it?
The what? The maybe?
But you had a different word for it. You said, or like a different phrase for it. You said. I can't remember.
I don't remember.
But anyways, that's been good.
So with kind of like what we talked about, what are you going to take moving into the next few days?
I think I want to just try and I want to just kind of work on that slope. Make sure I'm doing these small habits, because you can do like good habits for 2 days, and they're not gonna, or a week, but maybe your slope will say this, but you might go right back to that, you know?
Yeah.
I think I just want to work on consistency. We talked about success, 2 keys to success last time being persistence and consistency. I just think I just need to consistently do the things that like I've outlined to do, and really make that a habit, and kind of start saying this more, you know. Just I figured out the habits that I'm wanting to do and to do every day. Now I just want to do them every day.
And then once you've done it for long enough, they start taking root, and it starts feeling less against the grain.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have to really think about it at that point. So that's mine. What about you?
Same. I want to just continue to take root in this morning routine that we're doing, and continue to see its consequences, because it's I'm hooked now.
Yeah.
You know?
By your fruits you shall know them, right?
By the fruits you shall know.
Good habits, good fruits.
Good fruits.
Bad habits, bad fruits.
Bad fruits.
So, yeah, that's good. Well, thanks for watching, and don't forget to have a great day.